Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Jed Spence's Penitentiary is open for business again. From locking up Premier League wingers to trolling teammates, nobody is safe. Even Jed Spence's Tottenham teammates cannot escape his penitentiary. So what hope do his opponents have? The 25-year-old has enjoyed a strong start to the season under new head coach Thomas Frank, after turning his Spurs career around under Ange Postecoglou last year, when it seemed like his Premier League dreams might take longer to get going than he expected after struggles in his first couple of years at the North London club. Spence roared back though and worked his way into the Tottenham starting lineup, mostly providing another option on the left rather than his natural right-back role. And his form not only earned him his England debut last month, but on Thursday night he made his first start for Thomas Tuchel. England kept a clean sheet as they swept aside Wales with 3 goals in the opening 19 minutes, and that allowed Spence to add a very familiar name to the list of wingers he has in his penitentiary. The fullback had started to hint on social media about dispensing with the wingers he came up against in pre-season, with an image of Arsenal's Bukayo Saka after Spurs' 1-0 win in Hong Kong. Spence used a photo of the England winger on the floor in front of him, with the caption, "On to the next one." That of course may just have meant Tottenham's next friendly in South Korea against Newcastle, but the captions began to get clearer. After the 2-0 win at Manchester City, Spence was up against Oscar Bob and Rico Lewis down his flank, and he posted after the game at the Etihad Stadium, "Bring me your favourite winger," along with a devil's face emoji. A few weeks later, and another future England colleague got the treatment with Jarrod Bowen pictured, along with the first reference to Spence's winger prison after the 3-0 victory at West Ham with the caption, "Who doesn't love a derby win?" Penitentiary expanded. Even his Spurs teammates did not escape being locked up on social media. In Tottenham's 3-0 win against Doncaster Rovers in the Carabao Cup, the visitors had 19-year-old Tottenham winger Demola Ajayi on loan and playing on the right. Spence later posted an image of the teenager behind bars with the words, "I'm sorry, lil bro. Welcome to the penitentiary." To his credit, Ajayi responded to it well with a gif of Neil Warnock, a rather pivotal character from Spence's past. It was no holds barred for Spence now, and that meant Brennan Johnson got the treatment. After Thursday night's England win against Wales, Spence has begun tucking the penitentiary images at the end of his Instagram collages, and there it was, with the Spurs winger's head on a leashed dog, with the fullback holding the chain, using the Grand Theft Auto V meme. Very happy to get my first England start with a great win, but forget about all that emotional stuff for a second. You cannot escape the inevitable. Let's take a walk to the penitentiary, brother, posted Spence in the captain alongside. So who is next to be potentially locked up in the Tottenham defender's infamous penitentiary? Next up after the international break is Aston Villa, who will arrive at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on October 19th. If Spence plays at left-back, then he will likely be up against 24-year-old Ivory Coast attacker Evan Guessand. The Corsica-born forward was signed for £30 million in the summer from Nice, and is yet to get off the mark with a goal or assist for Villa, and has mostly been playing off the right for Unai Emery's side. Spence will be hoping to prevent him from getting his landmark first goal for the visitors. Spence is likely to rotate with Destiny Udogie and even Pedro Porro on the right, with games coming every 3 days. But for the purposes of this article, we're selecting Spence as the left-back for every match and running the England international into the group. That means he would likely come up against a much-linked Spurs target in the summer window, Magnus Akliush, as the North London club travel to Monaco in the Champions League on October 22nd. The 23-year-old France international has 2 goals and 1 assist to his name in 6 League One games so far, and will present plenty of trickery and ability down the right flank for Monaco. Up next is a trip to Everton on October 26th, and potentially another Tottenham transfer target from the past 12 months in the shape of Tyler Dibbling. The 19-year-old has played on the right in the past couple of games for Everton, although David Moyes had been using Iliman Ndiaye a fair amount in the role, and the Senegal international has 3 goals and an assist from his 7 Premier League games so far so could get the nod against the Lilywhites. October 29th brings the Carabao Cup fourth-round trip to Newcastle, where Sweden international Anthony Elanga has mostly been the right winger of choice, but has failed to provide a goal or assist yet in the Premier League since his move from Nottingham Forest. Jacob Murphy has also been turning out on the right for Eddie Howe, so Spence could come up against either if he starts at St James Park. To complete the run of the next 5 matches is a home derby on November 1st against Chelsea, when Spence, if he is at left-back, will likely have to deal with Neto and his array of talents. November brings plenty more challenges with games against Manchester United, Arsenal and PSG among the bunch. That means Spence will have plenty of opportunities to add more names to his Penitentiary, and Thomas Frank will be hoping he does, because the more wingers who get locked up behind those social media bars, it can only mean good things for Tottenham. Thomas Frank's Tottenham are flying high, but can they keep it up? From Xavi Simons' struggles to the search for a killer number 9, here's what Spurs must fix to stay in the race. It's been a bright start to life at Tottenham for Thomas Frank. The former Brentford boss has introduced a welcome blend of consistency and tactical flexibility aspects that were sorely lacking under Ange Postecoglou last season. 6 wins, 4 draws, and just 1 defeat from their opening 11 games represent a solid return, highlighted by a superb 2-0 win away at Manchester City in August. But after an early surge, Spurs' momentum has eased somewhat. With 3 draws in their last 5 matches, clean sheets have also dried up. Having conceded just once in their opening 4 Premier League matches, Frank's team have leaked 4 goals in their last 3 outings, and 6 in their last 5 in all competitions. Things, however, are generally looking up for Tottenham, but a challenging run of fixtures lies ahead, with home clashes against Chelsea and Manchester United, and tricky away trips to Monaco, Everton and Newcastle. Frank will need to have everything finely tuned if his side are to navigate this spell successfully. With that in mind, here are 4 key priorities for the Dane as he prepares for the remainder of the campaign. It felt like something of a coup when Tottenham pinched Xavi Simons from under Chelsea's noses in the summer. But while the Dutchman's arrival generated huge excitement, his start in North London has been more steady than spectacular. He hasn't been poor by any means, but nor has he yet justified his £52 million price tag. Part of the issue is that Frank still hasn't figured out where Simons fits best. The 22-year-old, who's notched just 1 goal contribution, an assist against West Ham, in 7 games so far, has been used across multiple roles, as a number. 10, a left winger, and a number. 8, but has struggled to find rhythm or consistency in any of them. Simons is not a like-for-like replacement for James Maddison, the creative heartbeat he has effectively filled in for following the Englishman's ACL injury. Where Maddison thrives on invention and flair, Simons is more of a passing midfielder, one who keeps play moving and knits attacks together rather than producing moments of magic on his own. That's not a flaw, but it does mean he needs the right system and supporting cast to shine, or Frank. The dilemma is clear. Identify Simons' best position and build the structure around him to unlock his potential. Once he settles into a defined role and gains confidence and rhythm, Tottenham could finally begin to see the player who not only dazzled in the academies of Barcelona and PSG, but also lit up the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig last season. If Tottenham are to take the next step under Frank, they need a dependable, ruthless presence at centre-forward. A true number. 9 capable of turning half chances into goals. At the moment, that player simply doesn't exist in this squad. Dominic Solanke has shown flashes of quality, but injuries have disrupted his rhythm and consistency. Richarlison continues to work hard, but remains an enigma in front of goal, while Mathys Tel, though promising, is still more of a long-term project than a reliable week-to-week scorer. Meanwhile, Randall Kolo Muani, on loan from PSG, remains something of an unknown quantity. Once tipped as the next big thing after his breakout at Eintracht Frankfurt, his spell at PSG fell flat, following his £64.2 million move to League One, and while his loan at Juventus last season was an improvement, it was hardly spectacular. He's currently sidelined with an injury, which hasn't helped him or Spurs. Between the quartet, there's talent, energy, and potential, but not the kind of relentless finishing that defines top 4 teams. For Spurs to genuinely compete at the sharp end of the table, they need a striker who can deliver 20 or more goals a season. someone who can turn tight games into wins and lift the team when the performances dip. That's the kind of cutting edge Harry Kane once provided, and it's what Tottenham have been missing ever since his departure. Kane, who is regularly linked with the return to Spurs, has publicly distanced himself from a Premier League return, yet there will be other options available. For Frank, the task is twofold: either get one of his current options firing consistently, or identify a striker who can come in and provide that elite output. One potential target is Samu Omorodion, who has been sensational since joining Porto in 2024, netting 24 goals in 37 league appearances. The Spain international, who nearly moved to Chelsea last year and has been compared to the likes of Didier Drogba and Victor Osimhen, has an £84 million release clause in his contract. That figure might be hefty, but his current form suggests it could well be money well spent. Besides, Hugo Ekitike and Nick Woltemade arrived in England for comparable fees this summer, and both have proven to be smart acquisitions. A move for Omorodion in January might be unrealistic, but there's no reason why the groundwork for a transfer next summer couldn't begin now. Until then, Frank will need to get at least one of his current strikers firing on all cylinders. But if none prove capable of stepping up soon, finding a genuine top-class number 9 must become a priority. Because without one, Tottenham's ceiling will remain frustratingly low. For all of Tottenham's early promise under Frank, one key question still lingers. What is his best midfield? Rotation is healthy and even necessary in a long season, but if Spurs are to build rhythm and cohesion, they'll need more regularity in the centre of the pitch. So far, Frank has chopped and changed his combinations, with João Palhinha, Pape Matar Sarr, Rodrigo Bentancur, Lucas Bergvall, Xavi Simons and Archie Gray, all featuring in various trios and setups. Sometimes it's been a flat 3, other times 2 sitting behind a number. 10. That flexibility is part of Frank's appeal. He's tactically adaptable and unafraid to tweak his shape. But there comes a point when versatility can blur into uncertainty. Palhinha and Bentancur offer a solid, disciplined base, but perhaps lack the creative spark to unlock tight games. Sarr brings energy and drive, while Bergvall and Gray both possess composure and promise. Yet none have truly cemented their place. Then there's the question of Maddison's reintegration once he returns to full fitness. Does he come back as a pure number 10, or is there room for him in a deeper, more fluid 3? These are all puzzles Frank needs to solve. And soon. The midfield is the heartbeat of any successful side, and while depth is a strength, stability breeds understanding. If Tottenham are to progress from a promising project to a genuinely cohesive unit, Frank will need to identify his go-to trio and give them the time to grow together. Tottenham could really do with making another statement in Europe this season. A strong run in the Champions League wouldn't just boost their reputation, it would re-establish them among the continent's elite, something they've not truly been since Mauricio Pochettino's tenure. The campaign hasn't exactly started with fireworks. A narrow 1-0 win over Villarreal was followed by a flat 2-2 draw with Bodo/Glimt, leaving Spurs with plenty of work to do in the group phase. What they need now is momentum, a string of results to propel them towards the knockout stages and give this side the belief that they belong at that level again. They've already shown they can compete with Europe's best, having come within minutes of beating PSG, their Champions League opponents next month in the Super Cup before the French champions struck twice. Late on, to force a 2-2 draw and win on penalties. Performances like that prove Tottenham have the quality, they just need the consistency. For a young and relatively inexperienced squad, a deep European run could do wonders. It would build confidence and create a winning mentality. Frank's side have shown flashes of quality domestically, but taking that onto the European stage would be a true marker of progress. And with Champions League qualification for next season far from guaranteed, there's every reason to go for it. A confident, fearless approach in Europe could not only transform Tottenham's campaign, but also remind everyone, including themselves, that they're still capable of mixing it with the best.